Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome devotees to our morning Bhagavatam class. Today we continue with Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 14. We just started a new chapter entitled The Disappearance of Lord Krishna, and we are at verse 3 in the class where we get given by Mother Gita from ISKCON Atlanta. Hare Krishna Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Please accept my humble obeisances, all those to Srila Prabhupada.
And it's all yours, Mother.
Thank you. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura, Hari Bol. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahams Parivrajakacarya Stotra Shat Srimad. His Divine Grace C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nand Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. Ramacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Jai Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Sham Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. वृंदावन धाम की जय, मायापुर धाम की जय, जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय, गंगा माई की जय, यमुना माई की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, समेत भक्त वृंद की जय, निताई गौ प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. Glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devam Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraet. Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Canto 1, Chapter 14, Verse number 3. Kalasya cha gatim raudram viparyastartu dharminaha papi yasim nirnam vartam krodha lobhan ritatmanam. Kalasya cha gatim raudram viparyastartu dharminaha papi yasim nirnam vartam krodha lobhan ritatmanam. Kalasya cha gatim raudram viparyastartu dharminaha papi yasim nirnam vartam krodha lobhan ritatmanam. Kalasya of eternal time, cha also, gatim direction, raudram fearful, viparyasta reversed, ritu seasonal, dharminaha regularities, papiyasim sinful, nrinam of the human being, vartam means of livelihood, krodha anger, lobha greed, anrita falsehood, atmanam of the people. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Excuse me. He saw that the direction of eternal time had changed, and this was very fearful. There were disruptions in the seasonal regularities. The people in general had become very greedy, angry, and deceitful. And he saw that they were adopting foul means of livelihood. Purport. When civilization is disconnected from the loving relation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, symptoms like changes of seasonal regulations, foul means of livelihood, greed, anger, and fraudulence become rampant. The change of seasonal regulations refers to one season's atmosphere becoming manifest in another season. For example, the rainy seasons being transferred to autumn, or the fructification of fruits and flowers from one season in another season. A godless man is invariably greedy, angry, and fraudulent. Such a man can earn his livelihood by any means, black or white. During the reign of Maharaj Yudhishthira, all the above symptoms were conspicuous by their absence. But Maharaj Yudhishthira was astonished to experience even a slight change in the godly atmosphere of his kingdom, and at once he suspected the disappearance of the Lord. Foul means of livelihood implies deviation from one's occupational duty. There are prescribed duties for everyone, such as the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. But anyone who deviates from his prescribed duty and declares another's duty, excuse me, to be his own, is following a foul and improper duty. A man becomes too greedy for wealth and power when he has no higher objective in life, and when he thinks that this earthly life of a few years is all in all. Ignorance is a cause for all these anomalies in human society. And to remove this ignorance, especially in this age of degradation, the powerful sun is there to distribute light in the shape of Srimad Bhagavatam. Translation again. He saw that the direction of eternal time had changed, and this was very fearful. There were disruptions in the seasonal regularities. The people in general had become very greedy, angry, and deceitful. And he saw that they were adopting foul means of livelihood. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Onmanitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, in this new chapter that we have started, we see that Sutta Goswami has started speaking. And in the first verse, he says, Arjuna went to Dwarka to see Lord Sri Krishna and other friends, and also to learn from the Lord of his next activities. How fortunate is Arjuna that he got this opportunity to be such a close friend of Krishna, and he got to spend so much time with him. In yesterday's second verse, it said a few months passed and Arjuna did not return. Maharaj Yudhishthira then began to observe some inauspicious omens which were fearful in themselves. So this today's verse number 3, excuse me, Yudhishthira Maharaj, he doesn't know yet that Krishna has disappeared, but he's intelligent. So he's putting 2 and 2 together, bad symptoms or bad omens. They are there. And so he's thinking, maybe Krishna has left. Maybe Krishna has wrapped up his earthly pastimes. And he could notice, as the verse and the purpose says, that the direction of time has been changed. And, kind of normal order of things were all topsy-turvy. He could see that. He could also see what was supposed to be orderly had now become chaotic. Yeah, for instance, he saw, the severe weather. There were changes, seasonal changes. Talking about severe weather, we ourselves are getting a taste of such weather. Sometimes we feel, especially in Atlanta, we feel in winter, it's hot. It's 75 degrees. Where is the winter? And sometimes all of a sudden in summer, we start feeling cold. This is the seasonal changes. Now, we are still many, many thousands of years away before Kali Yuga comes to an end. But now, especially in the beginning of the Kali Yuga itself, we are seeing so many changes. For instance, frost in the summer, hot winter, like I was talking about, etc. So Yudhishthira Maharaj noticed that the healthy progress of nature was not there. This is what happens when Krishna disappears. All these changes take place, And Yudhishthira Maharaj, he was astonished because when he was reigning as the king, everything was perfect. Even the nature, the material nature was serving Yudhishthira Maharaj. Health, wealth, spiritual health of the citizens, everything was perfect. But when Krishna left, everything was turning to be the opposite. What are the symptoms given in this verse? That people had become greedy, angry, deceitful. And not only that, they were adopting foul means of livelihood. It's like, by hook or crook, let me get what I want. So these were some of the symptoms he could see. One thing that I remember was that the same thing happened when Jaya and Vijaya were cursed and they were coming down. They were being thrown from Vaikuntha. The whole universe was in darkness when that happened. There were loud, frightening, roaring sounds. There was so much inauspiciousness, around. Why? Because the Vaikuntha-vasis, those who lived in Vaikuntha, they were cursed and they were falling down to this earthly planet. And their being cursed was inauspicious. And the worst part was they were falling down to become demoniac people. The most demoniac people we can ever think of. So the whole natural thing was turning upside down. And this is what happens, when there is big disturbance. What can be more disturbing than Krishna leaving, Krishna disappearing, winding up his pastimes and leaving the earthly planet? What can be more disturbing? Imagine the situation of the mental situation of Arjuna. His most dear friend was gone from the earthly planet. You see? Well, when Krishna appears, time is also turned upside down. But that is in a very beautiful, very sweet, and very auspicious way. And when he disappears, there is a lot of disturbance. That disturbance causes pain, hardship, poverty, distress, disease, all these things peep in. So when he appears, everything is auspicious. And when he disappears, everything is inauspicious. Now the verse and purport talks about the reversal. What else was reversed, or you can say messed up? Yudhishthira Maharaj noticed that dharma and piety was being reversed. In other words, all his citizens who were dharmic had now started becoming adharmic and impious. You see, these citizens were previously perfectly following the scriptures. They were behaving like responsible and kind citizens. They were worshipping Krishna. They were offering sacrifices. They were performing austerities. And guess what? All this was going on very naturally. It's not that Yudhishthira Maharaj had to take a stick and go to each citizen and, make them straight. Come on, you got to do this or you got to do that. No. The citizens were very happy, very peaceful, very satisfied, and they enjoyed worshipping Krishna. They enjoyed offering sacrifices. And all this was very natural for them. Just like we devotees, thanks to Srila Prabhupada, we are exposed to Krishna consciousness. So for us, chanting is natural. For us, going to temple and serving is natural. Worshipping the deities, preaching, reading, serving, all this is natural for us. Why? Because we have decided, we have made a choice of being in that state of consciousness. But when Krishna disappeared, there was a switch. There was adharma, and Prabhupada says sin was introduced. And we knew at the end of Dwapar Yuga and the beginning of Kali Yuga, sin had already peaked in. So we knew that from now on, there's only going to be degradation. Srila Prabhupada says that people generally are impious and sinful. Their livelihood is disturbed. Why? Because they do everything impiously. And that is why there's anger, hatred, there's falsity in livelihood. And the main reason Prabhupada says there's disregard of Varnashram Dharma. People are not following the Varnashram Dharma. like the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. What is the duty of a Brahmana? To study the scriptures, to perform sacrifices, and to teach people Shastras, to preach to them, to teach them, and in return, just accept a little donation for maintenance. Just for livelihood, accept a little donation. And the motto of a Brahmana is simple living, high thinking. And for simple living, you don't need a lot of wealth. You don't need, a lot of donation. No, the Brahmana is satisfied with whatever little is, given to that Brahmana. The main duty, prescribed duty of a Brahmana is to give this knowledge to others, give the spiritual knowledge. And to give the knowledge, the Brahmana has to study those Shastras. In Bhagavad Gita, we've got so many qualities of a Brahmana listed. Why did Krishna give all these qualities to Arjuna? For us, if we want to come to the stage of a Brahmana, to have those Brahmanical qualities, then we have the list of qualities required, like simplicity, honesty, cleanliness, so many qualities mentioned. What about the Kshatriyas? Now, Prabhupada is talking about the Varnashram Dharma. So Kshatriyas, their duty is to collect taxes, but use it for the safety of the citizens, not for personal sense gratification, right? To protect the citizens, to ensure their safety. And also to help the citizens to grow, not only materially, but spiritually also, and take care of them. And the duty of a Vaishya is to grow food, to supply food, right? And not only that, even to take care of the cows that are very, very dear to Krishna. And what about Shudras? Their prescribed duty is to serve Brahmana, Kshatriya, and Vaishya, and then get paid. So when we get paid, we are considered to be Shudras. And Srila Prabhupada says, now that is a disturbing statement, because most of us are working and we are getting paid. But the difference is in our consciousness. We are not serving the boss so that we get paid and we enjoy sense gratification. We are, whatever we get paid, we are using in the service of Krishna. That is the difference in consciousness. But now in Kali Yuga, everything is turned upside down. Brahmanas are supposed to be intellectuals in society, but now they are receiving salary. They are getting paid. I remember when I was little, I was in Hyderabad in India, and my parents were very pious people, and they liked to go to all spiritual gatherings. It didn't matter who it was. Okay, if they came to know that there is kirtan in this house, they would take all of us and we would go and we would listen, which is a good thing. But what I noticed was one of the programs that we had gone to, I may have been probably 12, 13, I'm not sure, intelligent enough to understand what I observed. So what I noticed that this gentleman was doing such nice kirtan, it is called Mata Ki Chauki, where they sing a lot of bhajans for Durga Devi, Mother Durga, and everyone was so involved in singing, and some of them were dancing, and he was also speaking from the scriptures. I don't know what he was speaking about, because I had no idea about scriptures at that time. I had not read anything. So after all that, program was over, then I noticed that this speaker or the singer, he went up to the host and asked him for money. And, a lot of money, counting, counting, and gave him a lot of money in his hand. And I was thinking, even though I didn't know Bhagavad Gita, I was thinking, why would anyone take money for singing for God. Why? This you do because you have that faith, you have that devotion and you want to, sing. But that was not it. Then I noticed that, I wanted to, use the restroom. So I went, looking in that house. And then I noticed this gentleman who was singing and, reciting verses or whatever was in one corner. He was smoking. And I was like, oh, Krishna, is that spirituality? That is the situation in Kali Yuga. Those who are pretending to be Brahmanas, those who are pretending to be intellectuals, those who are pretending to know the scriptures and they are receiving donations for that. Excuse me. And not only that, not even following the scriptures. And what about Kshatriyas? Kshatriyas, instead of collecting taxes for the citizens' benefit, they are stealing. It is for their personal sense gratification. So the question arises, let us look at ourselves, our lives. Is our livelihood good? Is it honest? And is it pious? Are we engaged in sinful means to earn money, or are we earning our livelihood in an honest way? Because Prabhupada says many livelihoods are based on cheating and duplicity. And this happens, Prabhupada says, when one deviates from occupational duty. Then there is foul means of livelihood. So we have to be careful that we do not deviate from our prescribed duty. So the $1 million question is, what is my prescribed duty? Is it something I decide? Okay, I think this is my prescribed duty. Or should I take guidance from my spiritual master and find out what is my prescribed duty? And Srila Prabhupada says, only those who are greedy, they will deviate from their prescribed duty. Why? Because they have no goal in life. They have no objective in life. They have no spirituality in their life. And not only that, they think that this is the only life, only one life. And what is the slogan? Live life to the fullest. Which means eat, sleep, and be merry. Because they don't believe in another life after this life. Why? Because they don't have the spiritual knowledge. So live life to the fullest without spirituality means live like animals. And not use one's philosophical intelligence to understand what is the goal of life. Why am I here? Who am I? That is a big question. Most people don't know who they are. They have no knowledge. They don't know why they are suffering. They don't know how to break the cycle of suffering. They don't know how to reach that place where there is permanent happiness. So after the disappearance of Krishna, all these things became normal. This kind of livelihood, it became normal. So Yudhishthira Maharaj could see these little signs and he became fearful. Fearful of what? Fearful of inauspiciousness. In the verse, there is a word called Raudram, that is wild fearfulness. It's not just fearful, wild. You know, Raudra, that's Rudra is another name of Lord Shiva. And when Lord Shiva gets angry, there is destruction. So Yudhishthira Maharaj, he started feeling wild fearfulness, Raudram, which was awful. You know, you can call it like watching a horror movie. I don't know how many of us, go crazy after watching a horror movie. I sincerely hope we don't watch movies because that is very disruptive for our Krishna consciousness. It pollutes the consciousness. You know, sometimes devotees say, oh, I watch it for getting knowledge. excuse me, what knowledge? Or I, do this so that I can broaden my perspective about the world. Just read the scriptures and it'll be easy to broaden it. So we see that Yudhishthira Maharaj was feeling wild fearfulness. And this was because of disappearance of Krishna. Now, Yudhishthira Maharaj was a very brave Kshatriya, and yet he was frightened. Why? He was frightened to see the society going to hell. Why? Because Krishna had disappeared. He was fearful of losing Krishna. That was the basis of all his fear, losing Krishna. So whether one is just a neophyte devotee, Madhyamadikari, Uttamadikari, whoever it may be, that fear of losing Krishna is very grave. And above and beyond, forgetting Krishna, that is such a dangerous situation. Imagine if in a split second, our memory is cleaned out. We forget Krishna consciousness. That would be such a dangerous situation, forgetting Krishna. So imagine the pain that Yudhishthira Maharaj felt with just the thought of losing Krishna, which means because Krishna had disappeared. If Krishna is not there, which is as good as losing Krishna. So we as devotees, we are very fortunate, thanks to Srila Prabhupada, that we are exposed to Krishna consciousness, that we have Srimad Bhagavatam to study, we have Bhagavad Gita to study, we have Chaitanya Charitamrita to study, so that we can increase our love for Krishna. So if we really want to make sure that we don't want to lose Krishna or forget Krishna, then we need to be very vigilant. Vigilant that we do not forget Krishna. Now, how do we become vigilant? Which means we have to be very conscious all the time. What am I? What are my actions? Are these actions taking me close to Krishna or taking me away from Krishna? The more our actions will take us away from Krishna, the more we will start losing him, in the sense, forgetting him. We may, not get another opportunity for Krishna consciousness. It may so happen that, if we become less vigilant, that we may lose Krishna consciousness. We may lose association of devotees. We may lose the taste for spiritual life. That would be really, really painful. So we need to make sure that we don't get disconnected from Krishna, because that's a very fearful situation. Thanks to Srila Prabhupada, what did he do? He gave us a telephone number by which we can connect with Krishna on a daily basis. And what's that phone number? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So when we are making that connection, when we are dialing that number every day, then we need to make sure we are hearing Krishna. Srila Prabhupada says there's no difference between Krishna and his holy name. So when we are chanting Hare Krishna, we have connected our phone with Krishna's phone. We need to be vigilant. We need to be hearing what is it that Krishna is trying to tell us. Need to get connected in the right way. Connect with attention, hear with attention. Then there's going to be a solid connection. Sometimes, like this morning, I got a phone call from my sister. She just came back from India last night. And the connection was really bad, even though she lives only 20 minutes from where I stay. The connection was so poor that I could barely make out what she is saying. So that can happen to us in spirituality too. If the connection is not, solid, then our relationship will not become solid with Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada also mentions in the purport that fear is caused because of duality. We have learned this in Bhagavad Gita about duality, a lot of verses about duality, and how a self-realized person should go above dualities, like should not get affected by heat, cold, happiness, distress, fame, infamy, success, failure, whatever it may be. One should come to that stage of Samadarshina, where it sees everyone equally, because all are parts of Krishna. All living entities are children of Krishna. And to go beyond duality, we need to understand Krishna is one, Eka. There's no second to Krishna. There's only one. And we are his parts, like we learned in Bhagavad Gita. Mamai Vamsha Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, Mamai Amsha. Amsha means part. Mamai means mine. Krishna says all living entities are my parts. And all are supposed to be in loving relationship with Krishna. That is the natural condition. That is a natural situation. But when we create dualities, then what happens? Then we start enjoying separate from Krishna. Then we think that this material nature is there for my enjoyment. And not only that, this material nature is there for me to exploit. Srila Prabhupada sometimes uses, not sometimes, very often uses strong words to bring that point to our home, in other words, in our consciousness. So this strong word of exploitation, that is there even, in this Kali Yuga. What kind of exploitation is there? Exploitation is there, like in olden Vedic days, the marriage ceremony was Vivaha Yagna. It was a sacrifice where husband and wife, they took a vow to help each other spiritually. But nowadays, the marriage ceremony is like, first of all, it has to be a destination wedding, and with all a pomp and show, whatever, that's fine. But where is the yagna, the sacrifice? The only thing that is going on in the mind of the bride and the groom is, how can I exploit my spouse? That is the consciousness, which is very, very wrong. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, his consciousness was that whatever belongs to me, my spouse, my children, my home, everything belongs to Krishna, and I want to use everything and everyone in service of Krishna. That should be our consciousness. Our spouse is not there to serve us. The spouse is there so that together we can serve Krishna. That is Vivaha Yagna. But when there is duality, when duality creeps in, then this is the state of consciousness, that this material nature is there for my exploitation. That is it. I want to enjoy separate from Krishna. Guess what? We tried that in Goloka, and that's why we were dropped here, because we wanted to enjoy separate from Krishna. We wanted to be the enjoyers. We wanted to be the controllers. That word controller is very powerful. The moment that thought enters our mind, we need to throw it away from our mind, because that idea of controlling, that is a very negative thought. Krishna is the only controller. We are all controlled. And what happens, Prabhupada says, duality causes fearfulness. Of course, that was not the situation of Yudhishthira Maharaj. He was a pure devotee. Now, during the reign of Yudhishthira Maharaj, all the citizens were devotees. They were all following the scriptures. They were healthy, they were happy. And above that, they were satisfied with whatever they had. And they were honest. So, Yudhishthira Maharaj, he was astonished even with a slight change. He could see that slight change. And he was very intelligent, and he could see, and he could immediately think that probably Krishna has disappeared, because all these bad omens can be seen. All these signs of inauspiciousness can be seen. But towards the end of the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, Srimad Bhagavatam can give us the light and remove that darkness. Darkness of what? Of ignorance. Through what? Through the knowledge from the Srimad Bhagavatam. It is ignorance that is the cause of all distress. And Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada says, is a powerful sun that can distribute that spiritual light, that beautiful, strong light that can remove all the darkness. So let us soak ourselves in this powerful sunlight of Srimad Bhagavatam. Then our life will be successful. The verse once again. He saw that the direction of eternal time had changed, and this was very fearful. There were disruptions in the seasonal regularities. The people in general had become very greedy, angry, and deceitful. And he saw that they were adopting foul means of livelihood. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mother Gita, for such a beautiful class, and really walking us through the journey, of how whatever all the omens is the word that was used in the previous verse. I remember the fearful omens was very fearful to Maharaj Yudhishthira, but as he was speaking about it, how fearful it was to him, that we are living in it to today, and it doesn't fear us. It just doesn't fear us. And I was thinking, wow, Krishna, it was so fearful to Maharaj Yudhishthira, but we are in it. We are seeing it. What it's explained here, we're seeing it, and we're not fearing it. So I was really reflecting, wow, we should really wake up and snap out.
You know what Srila Prabhupada told his disciples? You are not fearful enough of Maya.
Yes, Mother.
Which means we are taking it so lightly.
Yes. We don't have healthy fear of Maya. Yeah, because, we're in it. If you see everything that's said in the purport, my Mother, we are in it, but we just take it, it's part of life, but we are not fearful of it. And Mother, I have a question is, we are not fearful of it. And at the same time, we don't have a healthy fear for Maya. At the same time, we are like, it's part of life. But how can we be cautious of, in this Kali Yuga, have a healthy fear, but not live like a mouse, like, oh my God, someone's going to rob my house. How can we have that balance, Mother?
Now I'm going to answer you, and you may think it's a broken record. I always talk about it. When we are driving, if a cop is sitting next to us, we will be fearful. We will be very conscious of not breaking the law. So if we are associating with devotees, they help us to be on guard. They help us to be cautious. And as we learned from Rupa Goswami, Utsaha Nischaya Dhairyat, you see, we have to be enthusiastic, determined, and patient. And all these qualities, it'll be easy to imbibe when we have very powerful association of devotees. And not only that, even our sadhana is strong. You see, it all depends on our sadhana. If we are taking Krishna consciousness for granted, we will take Maya for granted. If we are not so determined on our goal of life, which is to break the cycle of birth and death, then naturally, we will not be able to remain cautious. You see, as I was saying, every action that we perform, like Prabhupada says, thoughts, they turn into actions. So we have to catch the thoughts. As soon as the thoughts come in our mind, we need to be vigilant about it. What am I thinking? Is it something which is beneficial for me, or is it something that's going to take me away from Krishna consciousness? And that's where we catch them, so that they don't turn into actions. And all this becomes so very, I wouldn't say very easy, but becomes easily possible in association of devotees. So I know when I have a Chaitanya Charitamrita class in my house here on Saturday mornings, where all these devotees come, it's such a happy atmosphere, I feel like, giving a hug to all the Matajis, to rub off their Krishna consciousness on me, that's selfish of me, but, that happiness in that association of these devotees, we are getting together, we are reading, we are hearing, we are having prasadam together, and we are conversing. That all, gives us that, the boost that we need, you see. I know I went all around, but I hope I answered your question.
Beautiful, Mother. And I have to say that what you call the broken record response is one that I feel we need to be reminded every single day. And it's beautiful. And like you said, Mother, it all boils down to devotee association. And we aspire. And Dear Krishna has two questions on that same topic. Amazing discussion. He says, Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you for the wonderful class. Two questions. His first one, Mother, is this: devotees are fearful of losing Krishna. Similarly, should we be fearful of losing good association? That's his first question.
Absolutely, absolutely. We should be those kind of devotees. Say supposing there is an announcement that, there is $1 million, hidden in this backyard or whatever. What is that called? What hunt is it called?
I don't know, Mother.
When the kids hunt
treasure
for
hunt, treasure hunt.
Treasure hunt, yes.
Treasure
hunt. So, we are all on a treasure hunt. Like, okay, in the backyard, there's $1 million. Let's find it and grab it. That should be our state of consciousness. Where can I find the treasure of good association? Let me find them. Let me be on a lookout and grab the opportunity. So we should be very fearful of losing good association. Now, one thing can be that if our if our behavior is not up to the mark, in the sense if our behavior is such that the devotees don't want to associate with us. Of course, pure devotees will associate with anybody and everybody. They do not differentiate this level of devotee or that level of devotee. But we have to be at least following some Vaishnava etiquette, so that when we get the opportunity of good association, we are able to grab that. You see, that good association, that good association devotee, that devotee who can give us good association is also very happy to associate with us. You see?
Very nice.
Say for instance that I am that type of a devotee who likes to find faults in everybody. The moment I enter the temple room, I'm like, my nose goes, I'm cribbing. Oh, that sari not nice. Oh, look at that devotee, how that devotee sit. That state of consciousness, who would want to associate with me? right? So we also have to be vigilant of our behavior, and we should be this is such an important question, Prabhu, that we have to be fearful of losing good association. Hold on to it. I remember I saw a beautiful picture of a devotee who is, there is the lotus feet of Krishna, and the devotee is grabbing on to that lotus feet of Krishna, and that expression is, I'm never letting you go, Krishna. That is the expression. That should be our state of consciousness for good association. That, of course, that doesn't mean you go and hold on to their feet and say, okay, I am not going to let go of your association. But the idea is we should be craving for good association. And when we crave for good association, then that fear of losing will be there. It should be there, because if we lose that fear, then we will not bother about good association. Does that make sense? We'll say, no, it's okay. If association comes, fine. If it doesn't, that's fine too. Sorry for the long answer.
Beautiful answer, Mother. And his second question, Mother, is how does one realize if he or she is losing good association? We might still be thinking we are in the best of association, but in reality, that might not be the case.
Yes. I had a similar question asked to my spiritual master a long time ago. And the answer I got was that, excuse me, as soon as we see that our material fever is going up and the spiritual fever is going down, we know that we are not keeping good association. In other words, we are gradually going towards the materialistic lifestyle. In other words, we may, unfortunately, devotees, they take the liberty of, I would say, not being vigilant, in the sense they may say, oh, I am going to buy a new car and it'll be for Krishna. Really? Is that true? And the back of the mind, it's for my enjoyment. It has nothing to do with Krishna. So you see, gradually this material fever starts going up. And then we know that we are losing good association. You see, if I want to be a drunkard, I definitely need to associate with someone who is drinking all the time, who's a drunkard. Then only I will be able to do what that person is doing. So if I want, to be a good devotee, in the sense I want to be on this path, then I need to make sure that I'm having good association. You see, we might still think that we are in the best of association. Why is that? It's because when our material fever starts going up, then all the impurities in the heart, they start manifesting again, like lust, anger, greed, pride, envy, all of these. I saw a beautiful picture with a writing which said, because our lust, anger, greed is in front, Krishna is at the back. The moment we remove lust, anger, and greed, we'll be able to see Krishna, because we are unable to connect with Krishna because of these impurities. So we might still think that we are in the best of association because all these impurities have started creeping back in, which we have been working hard on removing, by chanting. What are we doing? We are cleansing our heart. We are removing the impurities. So this is what happens. So we have to be very, very vigilant, because it'll just take a split second to change our consciousness. What about Ajamil? What happened? Just one vision in the forest, and his whole life was upside down. So I hope I answered your question, Prabhu.
I'm sure. Yes, he did. He said, thank you very Thank you for your beautiful detailed answers. Very helpful to remain vigilant all the time. I always try to remind myself Krishna consciousness and good association is not cheap. Yes, very, very nice question. Mother, I have two questions, and one is a piggyback from Dear Krishna's question. It's really powerful how you mentioned that good association is very rare. And I think sometimes we take it for granted. And then piggybacking on Dear Krishna's question about how we can identify good association. Sometimes, my mother, I come across situations where, I may have a very good association with the devotee, for example, but that devotee may not like or doesn't have good relationships or has, inimical, whatever situations with other devotees or the temple or whatever. Is that healthy for my Krishna consciousness, mother? Like he or she is good to me, but with others is like very negative.
That is that's duplicity, like I remember hearing one time that we should behave in such a way that if Srila Prabhupada walked in, he should not see any difference in our behavior, whether he's there or he's not there. So we should be always in that state of consciousness that Krishna is watching us, Srila Prabhupada is watching us, my spiritual master is watching us, right? Watching me. So if we are in that state of consciousness, yes, so what happens that this duplicity is not good for our, it's not healthy for our Krishna consciousness, because we are actually at the end of the day cheating our own selves. We're not cheating anyone. We're cheating ourselves, and we are hampering our own spiritual progress. So we need to understand that this type of behavior is not good at all, that you are nice to someone, and then, but with others, you are totally different. I have noticed this myself also. In fact, this is a recent thing that I noticed was a few weeks ago, maybe a month or 2 months ago, one of the devotees in the temple who just used to wish me very nicely, of course, but we never had any conversations, or it's partly my fault too, because I'm an introvert. I will not go out of my way to. I should, it's embarrassing that I don't even know the names of so many, devotees who come to the temple. I should make an effort. But the point I was making was that it was just Hare Krishna kind of situation. Hari Bol, how are you? Fine, that's it. But then as soon as this devotee came to know that possibly I was going to get some position in the temple, probably, immediately the whole behavior changed, like talking to me so sweetly, talking for a long time, and offering prasadam, offering to make a box of prasadam to go, etc., etc. This should not happen. You see, this should not happen. I'm sorry to give this example, but just to bring
I
home
go
a
through that
point.
once in a while, mother. I know.
Yes, yeah, I knew you would understand. So,
Yes.
so a position has nothing to do with it, We are all children of Krishna, and we are all, brothers and sisters, and we should have that loving relationship. So this is something, if it is up to us, we know who we are, we know what our behavior is, we know how we are behaving with other devotees. So if we are behaving in this way, we need to stop that. And this all is happening because of impurities in the heart. That's when we start putting devotees on different sections. Okay, this is good, this is medium, this is na, I don't want. This is not a good idea at all.
And also, mother, it boils down to one who has a duplicitous behavior, between one devotee to another. Or I've even seen situations where they just have something against the temple, and it's very common too. And I think it's also they don't have a healthy fear that can really affect their Krishna consciousness. They just
Yes.
think that they are the authority, and yeah. That's
This is very dangerous because it's kind of an offense, Vaishnava Aparadh. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says Vaishnava Aparadh can uproot our spiritual lives completely. It can destroy our spiritual lives. We are so very fortunate out of billions of people. We are just these few people who have been exposed to Krishna consciousness. We don't want to lose it. And Vaishnava Aparadh will definitely uproot our spiritual growth, our spiritual life. So you got to be very careful. It's
Thank
false
you,
ego.
Mother.
It's false ego, that starts, why do we have to, like, supposing, I look at Anasuya, and why do I have to find faults in you? Why? It's not my job. I am not in that position. I am not that authority to find faults in you. Instead, Srila Prabhupada says we should try to magnify our own faults. Oh, you see, I am such a rascal. Sorry for using that word, but that is the very apt word for us, that I am finding faults in others. What about my faults that I have? What about all the impurities in my heart? Let me concentrate on that, right? Then we can be safe from Vaishnava Aparadh. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, Mother, because that makes me think that, to protect my devotional creeper, my whatever little insy, Bhakti Lata Beach in my heart, I should not be engaged in association where they don't respect other devotees. Because sometimes I feel like, if I were to associate with others who don't respect others, it can rub off on me over a while, and I will start to categorize them, as you said, so to protect my Bhakti Lata Beach, not knowing, because I'm as fallen as whatever, and I should protect it like a budding stage. Yeah, that was a very important point, Mother.
But at the same time, we have to be compassionate.
Yes.
And
That's
help as much as we
Yes.
can,
Yeah.
What I do is, whenever I see something like that, in a very polite, gentle way, kind way, try to, change that situation. And when I see after a few efforts, if it's not making a difference, then it's okay. But at least I tried, right? Because
Yes,
you never
Mother.
know. Sometimes they may just, they may accept it and change.
Mhm.
So,
Yes, Mother. Thank you. Yeah, very important point. Mother, my last question is, Srila Prabhupada ended the purport so very nicely, talking about the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam, where he says that the only way to remove this ignorance is taking shelter of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And it's such a powerful point, Mother Bhagavatam, as I wanted to ask, sometimes as devotees, we are drawn to so many other talks or lectures or kathas or Bhagavatam outside of ISKCON. And sometimes that concerns me, because then we are kind of thinking that, oh, but it's scripture, so it's okay. But at the same time, I'm thinking of Srila Prabhupada's words. He said, just read my books, right? So how can we really develop that understanding, Mother, that Bhagavatam given by Srila Prabhupada is the utmost. There's no need to go to something outside of Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavatam. How can we understand that essence, Mother?
yeah, it's very important. That's why Srila Prabhupada, he started this process in ISKCON, where every temple, Bhagavatam class in the morning. And if we are not living in the temple, then Bhagavatam class like we are doing, online. If it is not possible in person, then online. But hear Srimad Bhagavatam every day. That is what will give us the power in our spiritual lives. Like it says, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. One Bhagavatam class a day keeps Maya away. So we got to keep Maya away by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Every word of Srimad Bhagavatam is nectar. We may not realize it, we may not feel it, we may not experience it, but it has that power, you see. And I have personally seen in my life, when we started Krishna consciousness in Mumbai, in Juhu, one of our God brothers, he started a program in his house, and he would ask us to come and, preach to the new people. But it so happened that his wife was not interested in Krishna consciousness. So she started introducing other things to him. And so he stopped these programs, weekly programs. Unfortunately, the new people were left homeless, as you can say. And but what he started doing, he started hearing outside of Prabhupada's books. And I even remember very clearly that I was sitting in my spiritual master's room in Juhu temple. He was there, and the spiritual master gave him the instruction very clearly: please do not read outside of Srila Prabhupada's books, because that will be devastating. And unfortunately, he did not take that seriously. And after some time, he disappeared. He gave up Krishna consciousness. So if we are fearful that I don't want to give up Krishna consciousness, then we should not hear anything besides Srila Prabhupada. It may sound like we are being pessimistic. No, we are being realistic. Srila Prabhupada's books is the only savior for us. So we should not hear outside, because we never know when Maya will creep in and will take us on the path of non-Krishna consciousness.
Thank you so much, Mother. Yes, Parikshit, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, accept my humble obeisances. Oh, glory to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much for the lecture.
Thank you.
And this last point that you're discussing, it's very important that we play safe when we go outside of Srila Prabhupada's instructions and his books. We don't know what we're going to put ourselves into. And sometimes I think that people want to make spirituality like some kind of menu: pick this from here, pick that from there, pick this from here. You hear somewhere else, and then you would chant 16 rounds. But that person wasn't the one that told you to chant 16 rounds. It was Srila Prabhupada that said 16 rounds. So if you're getting that mercy, if we're getting that mercy of chanting 16 rounds, then why should we go somewhere else for the other things that Krishna's representative, Srila Prabhupada, has said to do? We don't do one thing here, and that's why I'm saying you're picking this and you're going to hear that. And there was a devotee close to us actually now, proximity-wise, doesn't live far away from us, talking about Srila Prabhupada, and he's initiated by Guru from ISKCON, still talking about Srila Prabhupada and other people who they got interested in. He got interested in, and for a while his life got quite complicated. But because we are friends, we still maintain a good relationship with them. It's dangerous to go outside of Srila Prabhupada's, the umbrella that he said in this class. It's dangerous to do that. People need to understand that, because you never know what you run into. But Srila Prabhupada is for sure. He was the one that was predicted to come to spread Krishna consciousness the whole world over. Lord Chaitanya said it. He said, I'm spreading Krishna consciousness all over India, but there'll be one after me that will spread it the whole world. He's the one that's done it. And that I remind myself all the time. Yes, he's the one through whom I can chant not 64 rounds, but 16 rounds and still get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. So we need to remember that and play safe, stick with Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yes, very important comment. And there are so many books of Srila Prabhupada. Even if we read 2 hours every day, we will still have a lot more reading to be done, So it's not that we finished all Srila Prabhupada books and now we can read outside. No.
They can never be finished.
Never.
The books are circular.
Yes.
You read and you start again, you get more realization. You read and you start again. You can read Bible, you get it over and over and over. Every time you read and you delve into it, more realization comes. So there's no staying away from
That's
this
true.
book. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I know you know that, but I wanted to throw that in. Hare Krishna.
That was a nice point. Thank you so much. Such a wonderful discussion. Dear Krishna really kicked it off with his questions. Really, really appreciate your questions, Prabhu. You asked really nice, deep, reflective questions, I have to say. Very
That is good
reflective.
association. That
Because,
is good
yes,
association.
I agree, Mothers, because of his association, such reflective questions. Thank you for throwing that in there, Krishna. And any questions from devotees, any thoughts that's coming to your mind, any reflections, any, clarification? If there isn't, we thank you all for joining us, and thank you so much, Mother Gita, for such a wonderful food for thought class. Really, really deep. Vanchakraptibhyascha kripasindabhevacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Hare
Have a
Krishna.
wonderful day and a wonderful weekend. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Go to the Father.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Rukmini.